Hello, everyone. Welcome to the First Pencil with Kathi and Mike. My name is Mike the Car Guy. With me today, my best bud, wicked awesome car gal, and friend to horsies everywhere, Kathi Cruz. Kathi, how are you this week?
Doing great. Doing great. It's
How are
spring.
my horsey friends?
Horses are doing good. Our
Awesome.
sinkhole has dried up a little bit. Sinkhole that happened on the property from all the rain.
All the rain here in Southern California.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna have to get somebody to grade it a bit, but I think we've got somebody. So, but anyway, yeah, it made it so that we couldn't. The sinkhole was right in a space where there's a horse that has neurological issues, and so we couldn't really get him out of his stall because he would have fallen in. So we had to take the stalls apart to get him out actually the other
Oh,
way.
wow.
Yeah, so glad that that's over. And what else? That's all that's been happening there, other than just a lot of hard work.
Speaking of sinkholes, we were just sharing some frustrations over our favorite sinkhole, Twitter.
Yes, a sinkhole in a very bad way. A man-made one.
I'm sure our listeners have experienced some challenges, and it seems like everyone, at least especially on Twitter, a lot of folks are pointing out stuff that you didn't realize was bad until someone mentions it, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I have been having a problem with that. You know what? Yeah, that's broken too."
Yeah, that's broken. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things I miss most is, when they had all the APIs flowing and stuff. When you would create a post, you could actually geotag it from wherever you were posting at and it was supported by Foursquare, that check-in app that used to be real popular, but they were support, so you could actually fine tune it down to a business. If you were checking in from Joe's Cantina or whatever. But now, since everything's all broken, the best you can do is post from a city. And I really, especially if you're using it like for business, if you have your company profile up there, you want to check in from your business. It's just one of those little things that isn't getting a lot of press, but I think makes a huge difference in not being there.
Yeah, just one of the many things that are broken. They
Many
also have
things.
like some idiotic gold check mark, and it's like something about verify your business or your organization. So I clicked on it the other day, and oh, it's only $1,000 a month. Okay, now, did anyone ask for that? No one asked for that.
Right.
Um, I saw today that he is allowing Twitter Blue users, which there are very few of them, neither of us included in that. You can upload up to 2 hours of video. It's like, okay, but nobody wants that. We can do
Right.
that on YouTube. What this it reminds me, because one of my favorite books by a car dealer, Carl Sewell. It's called Customers for Life. And one of the things that it's an old book, but they have it on Amazon. And one of the things he says, give your customers what they want. Just give them what they want. Find out what they want and give it to them. That's basically the quote. Now, I understand we're not really the customer per se. However, Twitter isn't anything without its users.
Right.
And so shouldn't you at least understand what the users might want? Or it
So
wasn't
they use
broken.
it more so that it can
So they
create
use it more, so they're
what
there
you're
more.
looking
Right.
for, right?
That it wasn't broken when he took over, but now it's completely broken. And I had to delete the app off my phone because it was sucking the battery juice from my phone. It's just crazy. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what happened. So I had to delete the app, and now I use the web application for it and on my phone. And I can tell you, it is broken beyond comprehension. I don't even know what to say. But of course, that's what happens when you fire 90% of your people, especially from the critical areas that
Development and
there's this
support.
podcast I'm listening to right now. It's called Flipping the Bird. It's a six part podcast about if and I totally recommend it to anybody out there that wasn't like like Mike and I, where we were every day living the experience of him taking over Twitter, because it starts from the beginning and it goes through like when he was actually forced to buy it, and then what's happened with the employees and how he treats people. And it's fascinating. It's only 6 parts and it's worth your time. But it, like, he took it over and just like started killing it, and it's just still dying. So
The most frustrating aspect for me in losing the functionality and a lot of the fun of Twitter, and I still am really, I've got my follow list regulated to minimize the amount of crap that seeps in, but there just isn't a great alternative. There's a lot of alternatives, and that's the problem for me. There isn't one. It's not like we can go, okay, this one's junk, go to this one, because one hasn't gotten universal acceptance, and now they're going to be, I fear they're going to be so fractioned off that there'll be small groups, and you won't get that same experience that we had from Twitter 2 years ago. It's just, there's never going to be something else like it.
Mm-mm. Yeah, but I will tell you that, because
there may be others like it, but nothing like
not yet,
what
not
had.
yet. Now remember, okay, because Twitter wasn't always like that, right? It was not always like that. So I think in time you're going to see some things kind of make their way into the more mainstream. And Blue Sky, I've spent a lot of time on Blue Sky this week, and Post. Those are the two that, because I feel like Blue Sky is the closest to Twitter, and Blue Sky is Jack Dorsey's new project. But Post is a great, post.news, if anybody wants to go and get on the wait list. It's not very long. I think they're letting people in pretty much. But that was started by the guy, Noam Barden, who was the creator of Waze. And he's got some great investors, namely Scott Galloway, Professor Galloway, and Kara Swisher. And so I respect them very much. So, but it's good. And I think we are going to smaller groups. You can't be all things to everyone. But I hear what you're saying, though, about Twitter being the place where you could go. You can do that now on those other two, but they're new, they're brand new, and they're in beta, like early beta, especially Blue Sky. Blue Sky is really early. So Post is too, but
anyway, I'm still on the wait list for Blue Sky.
You're still what? And I'm still waiting to get invites, because apparently you get invites after you've been on for a while. And so I've been like paying attention and being on there and interacting and all that. But as soon as I get one, if you haven't been let in, I'll give it to you. So
and I'll take it.
But yeah,
changes everywhere. There's changes coming in all the technologies, all the platforms. There's some massive changes coming that I think we'll kind of be watching as Google rolls out a bunch of changes they announced today. And I won't say it's a big announcement, but it sure caught my attention. They've been talking about eliminating the Googles for tracking, or the cookies for tracking. And for a lot of people don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff, but those cookies are monumental when it comes to marketing companies and how they sell their service to other companies and how they represent companies, because those help track the consumer's journey, right? Though they can show that they clicked on a banner ad, or they clicked on this advertisement in Facebook, they went to the dealer's vehicle result page, and then they filled out a lead, and then the guy called them and they went in and bought the car. Without those cookies and that verification to track a lot of that information, it's going to make marketing a little more complicated. Google's saying that they're launching the newest version of Chrome in July this year, and in January of 2024 they're going to start phasing out the cookie tracking ability. So I can just imagine, I put myself back in a dealership, right, sitting at the sales desk, and my vendor rep comes in at the beginning of the month for his monthly review of their performance. It's going to be kind of comical. They're going to be like, hey Mike, since Google changed everything, we can't really prove how many visitors we drove to your website, but in our best estimation it's about 54 billion, and you can just take our word for that. We're pretty sure.
And the sad part is, the very sad part is that many people will believe that.
Well, they're gonna have like fancy graphs with like pretty
Oh, sure.
colors and
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
and GMs will be like, "Oh, wow, looks like you guys are rocking." Of course,
Yeah.
we're rocking because, we actually. And how many times have you heard this? We've actually hired some of Google's top developers.
Oh,
We actually recruited them away from Google,
yeah.
and our guys are in the know.
Yeah. Yeah, we're a Google partner. That's
We're
more
we're a Google authorized
we're
partner.
a Google partner.
I used
Meanwhile,
to,
just to sign up to do that, it doesn't need
yeah,
to.
I used to think to myself, boy, if all these companies are recruiting Google's top talent, there must be nobody left.
Well, one
It's
thing
just
I can
19-year-old
say,
interns at Google now.
yeah, the one thing I can say though is that that's how they make their money is advertising, and so they're going to have some kind of different offering.
Sure. They're replacing it. They're not
Yeah.
eliminating it. So
Mhm.
they're going to be something, and I'm sure marketers will. There's probably going to be some type of pay to play, when to get that data and all that kind of stuff. And who knows? They're not really good on setting hard deadlines. And how many times has GA4 been pushed and pushed and put? Okay, you have to have all your analytics out of Universal Analytics into GA4 by this date.
Yeah.
And as that date got closer, like, all right, here's the thing.
Mhm.
3 more months. But
Mhm.
at the end of that 3 months, you're done. You know what? Let's make it.
Yeah.
We want to be flexible. We want to be understanding. So we'll give you another 3 months. How about that?
Yeah, I think their drop dead date is like July something because I got an email today, I think. Trying to think. I'm an admin on a few ad accounts, so it wasn't for anything I do, but it was somebody else's. But
That's what they say, and I'm still curious as to whether they're gonna hold on it.
yeah, I'm sure they can see, how many people have switched over.
Because from what I understand, I'm not in it heavily. I've moved like my website over to it, but I don't rely a lot on analytics for that site. And the companies that I help with, I'm more focused on their consumer facing, their social. So the analytics aren't where I live and breathe all day. I know a lot of people that make their livings off of just sitting and reviewing all that. But there's a couple of components from what I understand of the GA4 that still aren't completed.
Right.
So how can you force someone into a system that's not fully baked yet?
Yeah, well. And since we're on that subject, because our friend Mike Fitzpatrick, he spends every day in that, and you go to what used to be called Data Studio, that's now called Looker Studio.
Looker.
I don't know why they changed it. It's so stupid.
It's the creepiest name ever.
But I've got on my cruise control site, I have some. It's an old site. It's got lots and lots of content, right? And so some of it is I have rewritten and is the older posts are redirected. Same with the pages that I've done over the years, and things like that. So I was getting error message. Not well, it was an error message, but it was more like just here, fix this. And there's a lot of those pages are still in the sitemap. So Mike showed me that through the Looker Studio, that there's a report that you can get, and it gives you these great insight into like how you're found in organic search. So it was very good. That I mean, I already knew that, but what the words were and the keywords and stuff, the key phrases. But it was nice to know, for sure. And I think that one thing that you could do, it's a marketing report. It's on Looker Studio, otherwise known as Data Studio, and it's a great report, and it's really something I'd recommend to just about everybody to take a look at. And it's not, you don't have to speak Google Analytics it's just a report that tells you really clearly like what it is. Like here are the words you're found in organic search for and where you show up in search in what position.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's the kind of information that I think people need to make decisions, but they don't want to be super educated and certified in GA4 analytics, and that's again one of my beefs with Google when they started to disrupt the Google Business Profile app, and then they finally dismantled it, and now if you're a smaller, medium-sized business and you've gone in and claimed your Google business profile, you know, it can be a great resource if you have information that used to be there. They used to show you, like, the Google posts. They always say Google posts are free advertising. It's free real estate to highlight a certain product or a service or whatever, put them out there, and it keeps the profile relevant, keeps it fresh, keeps it new, so it helps rank it, shows up. Well, you used to be able to see how many times those things were viewed. Now you can't.
Yeah.
They used to show you how many times the images on your Google profile were viewed.
Yeah.
I work with a dealership that was, and I used to send you screenshots, was up in the 300,000 views in a 28-day rolling period with just the pictures that were on their Google profile.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, I was encouraged, anybody that would listen, make sure you're putting some really nice, clean pictures of your company, your dealership, whatever company it is, to that Google profile, because people like to look at the pictures. People are visual creatures. Why is Instagram such a popular app? Because people like to see pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalize on that. But now Google doesn't show the admin of that Google business profile how those images are performing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's relevant information. If I am a small business and I can't afford to hire a vendor that can do all this stuff and dig deep into Google Analytics and find all this stuff, I'm just going to rely on that. And now that they've taken away information
mm-hmm.
that could help business owners
mm-hmm.
make better decisions
mm-hmm.
and help them grow their business, they've actually gone against what they said was the plus of the Google business profile.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a free resource for business owners.
Yes, the whole thing when they rolled it out was, oh, look, here's a free advertising. Put all your business information in. You're going to get preferential in the search. You're going to get this. You're going to get that. Look at it. And then they added some cool things, like, you could click to call and all of that. And now they've just taken it away. So, yeah. I mean,
it's there, and it's still a critical component. I mean, next to a company's website, sure. I think their Google business profile, and I've said for many, many years, it's their second most important investment. And the best part is the investment is just time. There's really no paying for it. We know that almost half of all clicks or Google searches result in a 0 click, right? Mm-hmm. Half the time people punch something into Google, and sure, there's a lot of people that use it, like myself, as a spell check, right? I couldn't remember how to spell bouquet the other day, so I typed bouquet and it spelled it for me. So that was a 0 click. But there are a lot of times that people, are looking for, ABC Motors, a new car near me, whatever it is, a Letterman jacket in Upland, California, and that Google business profile shows up. They don't have to click anywhere else.
Yeah.
If it's got some nice pictures, if it has the information, and Google likes that because it keeps that end user in their environment. I get all that. So if that's your end goal, make it worthwhile, or at least put the stuff back that used to be beneficial to help people make good decisions.
Yeah.
Data by itself isn't, what good is having a silver bullet if you don't know how to fire it and you can't track it when you do?
Right. Yep. They just don't care. They just don't care. They don't care. I wish they cared. And when I learned that? Way back when they removed the ability to fully, in analytics, to fully see the traffic that comes to your site. Like it just took it away. It just took away like most of it. And then also they used to, when you had when first Facebook was first out, you would have like an actual, data from this is the traffic that came from Facebook. Yeah. Now it just says, I think, social or something. And yeah, they took away that ability. I don't know why. It just still doesn't make sense. And it's 10 years later, because people need data, because data helps give budget to things, and it helps a marketing manager or an advertising agency earn more business because they can give you the results. And why wouldn't you, if you were the platform that the ads are going to go on, why wouldn't you want to help them? But I don't know.
I first realized that Google honestly didn't care when they announced they were shutting down G+.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Another unfortunate, such an opportunity there. And also when at the same time they were doing where you could, I forgot what it was called, but it was like you could have put on your site that established you as an author. So in other words, if you had a blog, it would come up
Yes.
in search a certain way, and that's gone. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
As much as I rely on it, I rely on it. I don't have to. It's kind of a love-hate thing.
yeah, yeah. And then you were going to share something about social media and content.
I actually had a conversation that kind of just it's fun to get in that creative mode sometimes. You know, I had a conversation with a dealer, a friend of mine, who's a GM at a store, and we were kind of just talking about some of the things that his vendor is doing, and I was kind of poo-pooing them all. You know, I was finding a flaw with everything, and he finally said, "Well, you know, what would you do if
Well,
it was
let,
your
let me let
store?"
me let me cut off. Hang on. It was a really shitty vendor.
Yeah,
Let's just say that. Okay, because you weren't being critical. You were being realistic about the really shitty content that they were
yeah. I was pulling back the
putting
curtain
on
and
there.
showing him that and telling him that this is not good quality content. It's not benefiting you whatsoever. It's not
No,
distinguishing you, separating you as a place to do
waste of
business. It's
time.
not bringing the attention. You know, it's just so that this company can say that they're producing content on your behalf, and it's checking a box, and that's all it is. There's no value being gained here. So he finally just said, "All right, well, give me one idea of what you would do." And I said, I mean, I was just sitting there, and I go, "Well, first off, this dealership is in the Riverside Auto Center." I said, "You guys are really, and it's not just you, all the dealers and the auto center management company itself is just missing a huge opportunity." So the Riverside Auto Center is a historic landmark. It's been designated as a historic landmark in I think 1964, when the dealers that joined together, the four of them, decided to buy this property and build their dealerships intentionally next door to each other to create one centralized shopping experience for customers. That was the first time that had been done in the United States, and it's been recognized as such. I said it's grown and everything else, but the Riverside Auto Center has so much history. I said, how many hundreds of thousands of people bought their first car at the Riverside Auto Center? I said, you know, lately, you know, last few years has been kind of overdone, the delivery picture, right? You take a picture of a car, you know, put customer taking delivery, they drive away. You put the picture, hey, congratulations to Joe, he bought his new Camaro. It's nice, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's so much more to it than that. There was a story behind Joe coming in and getting his Camaro. I said, if you hired me right now as a GM of the store, I would search GoDaddy, and I would see if the URL, my first car story, or my new car. I mean, there's all kinds of variations, but I'd see if one of those is available. I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I'd build a nice page to go with it, and I'd start reaching out to my customer base and say, hey, you know, recently we've had a couple of new cars that were our customers' first car buying experience that were really exciting, and they shared their journey about buying their first car here at the Riverside Auto Center. I said I wouldn't even mention the dealership name, and I would say, you know, it just started us thinking that a lot of people bought their first car at the Riverside Auto Center, and we would like to share those stories. We've created this website and put a link to it that is just about the Riverside Auto Center and people sharing their stories about their first car. We would love to hear from you if you bought your first car or know somebody who bought their first car, and you know, have you share that story. I said,
Yeah.
it would benefit the entire auto center, obviously, you know, because multiple dealerships. But I said, you would be the dealership that's you know, manning this thing. You would be controlling this effort. So when people do share the story, they're going to remember who they shared it with. I said, you're going to be reaching out to customers that bought their car a long time ago that maybe haven't come in for service. You're going to, you know, be able to connect with them, reconnect. I said, I would go out and I'd have a hat made, right, with the Riverside logo on it. And I'd say, hey, if you're willing to come into the dealership and let us take a picture, or maybe make a quick video of you and share your story, get one of these cool hats, right? Bought my first car at Riverside Auto Center, or first car, you know, something. Create a campaign around it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you'd hear people that, you know, whose grandfather bought a new Chevy Impala at De Anza Chevrolet in 1968.
Mhm.
And I would want that guy's story and a picture of it, because that's the kind of stuff that you want. And would it sell you a car tomorrow? Probably not. It might. There's no negatives to it,
No.
right? There's the cost is time.
Mhm.
You invest your time right, and pretty soon you'd have a steady stream of people coming in that want to share their story. Some would be willing to go on camera and make a video, which obviously video content is huge. Some would let you take their picture. Some would bring in a picture, maybe an old Polaroid.
Mhm.
I mean, how cool would it be to show a Polaroid of a guy with a 1971 Nova that, was taking delivery of it in front of the dealership? You would find all these kind of things that people would search out and look into their archives, and because it's not specific to the dealership, they would be more willing. Oh, it's the Riverside Auto Center. Yeah, my grandmother bought their Cadillac at Dutton back in the day, or whatever. I said, and over time, it would grow into something. Nobody else is doing anything like this. Customers would share it on their socials. Customers would drive visitors to that page. It would take on an organic life that you would
Mhm.
not believe. I guarantee it.
Mhm.
And he looks at me and he goes, well, there's so many things wrong with that. He said, that would never fly. And I go, I get that it would never fly, because the
Mm.
management would be too worried that, it's going to help benefit the dealership across the street. Why
Mhm.
would I want to do something that's going to help them sell a car? And
Mhm.
that ego and that fear and that protectionism would all set in,
Mhm.
and it'd be kibosh before it even got off the
Mhm.
cutting room table. As an idea, it would be squashed. There would be no. He goes, that's probably why you're not in the car business anymore, because you got all these wild ideas. You're a maverick. You're too crazy. Just stayed in your lane. I go, you're probably right. You're probably right.
So they're just going to continue then wasting their good money and effort on just putting absolute crap out on social. Honestly, it'd be better to do nothing than what that is, but that's unfortunate, but it's the state of where the business is. I think that there just
But
isn't.
with all the changes coming, like we've talked about, the demise of
Oh
Twitter,
yeah,
Google is
it
making it
doesn't,
harder to
dude,
market.
dude.
There's
It
so
was
many things happening.
no, because let me just refresh your memory, because social is very, very hard to make work now. Okay. It is the opportunities there, just like you're saying, you have a great story like that. But by and large, it's very hard to get traction on social unless you really know what you're doing, and you've been doing it for a while. So, but that wasn't always that way. It was really pretty easy in the beginning, like say,
And fun.
and fun. Yeah. Like I'd say probably, 2012, 13, 14, 15. It was,
My
and
heyday.
who was preaching it then? Me and you, and that no one really took advantage of it then. And so now I just think that they couldn't wait for that whole surge to go away, and now it's gone away. And so now not only their belief system, right, has told them, their beliefs have told them that, well, see, I was right all along, kind of thing. Don't get me wrong, it can still be done by someone that pays attention and has great creativity and is paid to do that, not free, and has the ability. There's a lot of components to it. It's an investment like anything else. But unfortunately, you've got the pressure. I mean, you've got a vendor telling you, oh, we'll do it for you for $1,200 a month, or we'll do it for you for, $3,000 a month, or whatever they say. And it's just too easy to just write a check and forget
Right.
about it. And okay, that's what you want. I've just never been like that, but.
And the challenge there is that vendor doesn't know your store, its culture, its uniqueness, its specialness. What are they going to promote other than, here's a car. Do you think it's cool?
Right. Right. And I think with the story with the Riverside Auto Auction, the Riverside Auto Mall, is that you could tie it in with Riverside Carbon Coffee, which is your baby, and then also the auction out there. There's I'm pretty sure they have classic car auction out there at
And the
Riverside.
thing is once you start that creative train,
Yeah, it
You start
starts
thinking
rolling.
of
Yep.
all these other things that could come together,
Yep.
and it could just build and swell into something ginormous. It's just a matter of, finding someone to green light it and say, yeah, not
This-
only do I see it, I believe in it, I want to support it, here's money.
and that's right. And especially with the Riverside Cars and Coffee guys and gals, some of them may remember like that they
A
might be
lot of them do.
right.
Every month I'm out there, and I'm talking to guys, and there's a couple that and that's one of the things that kind of stirred that in my head. There's a gentleman that bought a new Camaro, and he has a picture of him taking delivery of it at 19 years old, right before he left to go to Vietnam, right?
Oh wow.
It was a 68, 69 Camaro. He has a picture of it in of him and the car in front of Deanza Chevrolet.
Wow.
And I always told him, man, that's an amazing story. I wish there was some place that we could share that. And I have put that in the, when I've taken his picture and put it to the Riverside Cars and Coffee Instagram page,
Mhm.
I've shared that, hey, he bought his first Camaro here in the Riverside Auto Center at Deanza Chevrolet. And then it's funny how many people have tagged, oh, I remember that. I remember their tagline. I remember their commercials. I remember. And that just generates conversation, which doesn't do anything but create organic growth, right?
Right. Right.
And we've capitalized on it with the Riverside Auto or Cars and Coffee page, but it could represent something monetarily huge to the dealerships that are there.
Right. Right. It doesn't have to be complicated. The vendor will make you think it's complicated. But, if there is just say in your area, if you especially Chevy, there's Corvette clubs all over, and you let them meet on your lot someday. They usually meet on like a Sunday morning before you're even open. And there's just so much goodwill built there, and goodwill is not tangible. So that's part of the reason why you hear people say, well, you're an outlier, you're, that kind of thing, because they only want what's in front of them, the tangible stuff they see. But intangible goodwill in the community it builds so much more. And
that's how Riverside Cars and Coffee got its start. When I was
right.
running a dealership there at the auto center,
Mm-hmm.
the car business here in Southern California, maybe not, if we have listeners that are in Iowa or Missouri or something, it may not make sense. But here in California, weekends are it. If you work in a dealership, you don't get a weekend off. That's just the law.
Yeah.
Saturdays and Sundays, busiest days, everybody's on deck. And as a manager, as a GSM, I was having to open the store at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and that meant there was very little time for me to follow my hobby, which is looking at nice cars and going to Cars and Coffee events, car shows. So there's a couple bigger ones that would happen like in Orange County. So that meant getting up at 5, flying down to Orange County, running through literally just, kind of a mad dash, click, 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 take a bunch of pictures so I could look at it later and hustle back to the dealership so I could open it. And it got to be a pain in the ass. And I thought, there's so many nice cars out here in the Inland Empire area of Southern California. We could do it. I got space here at the lot. The service department's closed before we opened for business. I could set up some coffee, and the first time we did it, we had 6 cars. Within a year, December of 2017, we had 60 cars that were regularly showing it up months and months. And over the course of that year, one of the ways I was able to keep it going and validate the worthiness of it was we had sold 11 cars directly off of that show. I could connect the dots, not like a complex marketing, where he started at this site, got a lead off of that site, then ended up on our website, and then it came in. I mean, I could actually say, this guy, I have a picture, this is his, car show car, and he bought a Silverado.
Yeah.
Because a guy that's driving around in a 69 Camaro with a blower sticking out of the hood and a narrow 9-inch rear end, that's not his daily driver.
No.
He's going to need
a car to get back and forth
to work, and he's got money, right? So, we sold 11 cars. They weren't loser deals; they were good deals, and that allowed the management to kind of tolerate me and my little car show, at least for the time being. And that's the kind of stuff that, as changes make it more difficult to continue marketing and spending money to drive customers' eyeballs to the website and their feet into your showroom. There's so many things that you could be doing, and only a handful. I've been in this for a long time. There's 16,000 franchise dealerships, and how many of them are doing creative, fun, engaging things with their communities that create a customer base? Like a dozen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm knee deep in socials and online all day, every day. And I look for that stuff. So it's not like, things surprise me. There aren't any dealerships that kind of come out of left field and go, oh, I've never heard of them and they're doing something great. Because I'm always looking for that stuff.
Yeah.
So, and you get to know the same people over and over and over. Oh, that's, this guy's effort. Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
He's one of the few that's doing some great things. But by and large, I'm sure there's a dealership on a Thursday afternoon trying to put together his advertisement for the weekend ad, because it's got to have it in by 3 o'clock today for it to get into print.
That's right. Yeah. It's rough fighting against the apathy. I think if they were, apathy is tough. It's when it's someone that's fighting for what they believe in, it makes it almost easier, because you can fight what you believe in and maybe come to some agreement in some way, or see their point, or that kind of thing. But apathy, what are you going to do with apathy? People that are just okay with writing a check to a vendor, a shitty vendor that doesn't do anything except produce the same content that they're doing for all their other clients. I don't know. Days are over.
I told you once, I went into a dealership and the GM was all proud of himself that he said, "Hey, Mike, we've found the right person to take over our social." He said she's going to do phenomenal with Instagram. She's got an Instagram page. She's got like 300,000 followers on it. And I'm like, wow, okay. So he opens his phone and he shows me her Instagram page. Well, she was, wearing bikinis and lingerie and kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, I get it. She showed that she's successful in creating a community on Instagram. How's that going to translate into cars and selling cars? I mean, she's not going to be doing this kind of stuff here at the dealership. What kind of content? He goes, it doesn't matter, dude. She's got 300,000 followers. She knows what she's doing.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, yes, she knows how to grow a following in one way. How is that going to translate to the car business and selling cars? I mean, there's a difference between being a celebrity, right? And that's one of my resistances to TikTok. I see a lot of people that have got a lot of followers, even at the dealership level. There's a couple of dealerships that have, got a couple of million views and stuff. And I'm still struggling trying to translate that into selling a car, because the viewers tend to be younger, that aren't necessarily in the market themselves. I don't know if I'd go after
an $800 payment.
Right. I don't know if I'd put that much energy and budget and effort into that. So telling the receptionist, okay, you're in charge of our social media because you got 300,000 followers on your Instagram page. I don't know that was the best.
Well, you just gave me an idea for a business. So I'm going to create an Instagram account and I'm going to just buy some followers. And I'm going to and then go and market that and go, I can do your social media. And look at here. I have 300,000 followers. They're all fake. And you don't know that.
You don't know that.
But yeah. Oh my God. And listen, I think I could be considered a person that has been trying to educate since 2010, honestly. As I started the blog in 2010 and I can't do it anymore. I mean, the education's out there and I've talked until I'm blue in the face, and most don't want to hear it. Some do, but most don't. I really get more people reach out that are individuals rather than dealers. And it's just, at some point you just have to say, well, they're just going to have to live the way that they live. But like you said earlier, and we were talking earlier about Google, the world of advertising, online advertising is shifting, and it is very quickly changing to a place where because the consumer doesn't want to be followed. The consumer doesn't want to have tracking. They want their privacy. They're tired of it. And the big companies, the big advertisers see this. They know that our government has been very lax in any kind of regulatory things, but that's coming and they know it. And all the signs are there that that's happening. And so they're sort of moving themselves, but that is changing. And what are you going to do when that shifts and changes? I don't know. I've always been somebody that looks forward and says, what kind of a threat is going to happen to my business in the coming years that I can change now? I can change course now. So,
And again, I think from a dealership standpoint, we need to just get to a place cumulatively where we stop putting customers in their own unique class of being. Stop putting so much effort into trying to figure out what the customer wants, because it's not any different than what we want. We're all the same. We're all people. Customers aren't not people. They're people just like you.
yeah.
So if you look at a post or an ad and you think, I wouldn't go and buy that product, I wouldn't click that link, I wouldn't, then generally your customers are not going to.
Yes.
So it's a waste. Don't put it out. If you think, man, that's interesting, it's engaging, I want to read that,
Yeah.
that's what you push. If you think I would click that link because I want to know more about this offer, that's what you promote. I mean, there's no difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said, find out what your customer wants and give that to them.
And give it to them.
The starting place has to be you.
Yeah.
You're not different than your customers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wish everybody would read that book, that Carl Sewell book, The Customers for Life. Everybody should read it. It should be mandatory reading before they give a dealer to anybody, a dealership, give a franchise and dealer agreement. It should be mandatory reading.
I'm friends with a guy named Ricky Yamada. I followed him online. In fact, I connected with him when I was at DCH Gardena Honda, which is where I connected with you. And I shared a story like in 2010. We connected online because he drove a Honda S2000, which I love that little car.
Yeah.
And the reason we connected was I just happened to be on Twitter one day, and he had added Gardena Honda because he was saying he was going to go get the vehicle serviced. So, I caught that and I shot him a note. Hey, I work at the Gardena Honda. I'll make sure that everything goes smooth. I went out, I talked to the service advisor. I had it all set up. So when he got there that day, it was like lickety split, nice and smooth process. Not like it wouldn't have been anyways, but I just felt like I was being involved. And he made a nice comment on like a Yelp review. This was kind of interesting, using social media to get my car serviced, and we ended up becoming friends. And he was a manager of a Starbucks out in LA someplace. And I remember he shared on his Instagram a picture of a little handwritten note that he kept as the manager right above where the old school register. Now they got the new electronic kiosks, but it said, make it as easy as possible to be our customer. I screenshotted that. I've kept it with me for all these years now, and I still think that is one of the most brilliantly simple philosophies in
Absolutely.
any kind of business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just make it easy to be our customer. Remove all the obstacles. If you're online, like you're talking about the website, how many clicks do I got to click to get to the fucking information that I'm looking for? If it's more than 2, I'm out. See ya.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
Yeah.
If I'm going to call your store and I got to talk to 3 different voice prompts, and I worked with a dealer recently that had multiple different call tracking services set up, and they didn't realize that when a customer called in, they heard the, please press 1 for blah, blah, blah. And it went into a whole nother loop, and they started all over again. They went to 3 different, this call might be monitored, before they finally got to the store's main line.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And I only found that out by trying to call the store because I couldn't get a hold of the person I needed to. So I was just going to call the direct line to the store. And when I shared it with them, I go, have you ever called into your own store? It's like, no, why? I go, you get 3 different voice prompts before you finally get to the main line. He goes, and he looked into it. And about a week later, he came back and he goes, you know what? We're running it through this call tracking service, this call tracking service, and the vendor's call tracking service. And we didn't realize that it was going through and it helped him clean that up. But it was one of those things. Take away all the obstacles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If it's difficult to be your customer, chances are you're not going to get many customers.
Yeah.
The people are going to do business with are committed to do business with you. But how many are you missing because it's just a challenge? Your website takes forever to load. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can add one more thing because this subject came up about we were talking about something, it was an event, and I said, there's things that they're very simple things with customers, 2 things that are simple for you to do, and speak volumes about who you are and welcome the people once they come in. And one is a clean bathroom, a nice clean. It doesn't have to be new. I mean, you need to put some working, make sure that all the faucets work and make sure that the bathroom's clean. That's simple
Make sure it's
stuff,
stocked
right?
with paper towels
Paper
and
towels, all
paper.
that. And then the second is just, if you're going to offer any kind of coffee or food or pastries or what in the service in the waiting area, make sure it's delicious. Delicious food does amazing things. I'm telling you, just try it. They will be telling their friends about the fucking donut that they had,
Right. Yes.
the fucking coffee that they had. Believe me, it works, and it's so simple. But I just wish more people would do that.
It's the little things that will make you big, and
Yeah,
it's the little things that will break you down faster than anything else.
yeah,
It's all in the details. People are looking at these big picture things, and they're missing the details.
yeah.
But you can be so hyper focused on the details that you miss the whole big picture too. So I mean, there's a balance there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But decent food, decent coffee, and decent bathrooms is a big thing. Yeah.
It makes a huge impact.
Yeah.
First impressions are everything. And if you're out of business and you walk in and the restroom is just a shambles, it just shows a lack of attention. It just,
yeah,
it affects your whole.
It says they don't care about me here.
Yep.
They don't care about me here.
It can impact how you choose to do business, if you choose to do business there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, I'm looking at the corner of my computer and I'm noticing that today's date is a familiar date to both Kathi and I. We are recording today on May 18th, which happens to be my wedding anniversary. So happy 21st
my
anniversary.
Gosh,
to
really?
Mary Beth. Yes.
Oh my gosh, happy anniversary. I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
We got married on a very important day in music. Yeah. Not by intent, but it just also worked out that way. And if Mary Beth would have known then, we would have moved that date. But I was.
Yeah, she probably just was shaking her head.
She wanted us to get married on my birthday, which on the 28th of May has always been right on or right around Memorial Day weekend. And going back to what I said earlier, weekends in the car business, forget about it. And more importantly, the most important weekend in the entire year, and this is data proven, it's not just me saying this, Memorial Day weekend is the biggest event sales-wise of the year for the car industry. It's the thing that everybody gears up for, that gets ready, because it kicks off the summer selling season, and then Labor Day weekend is the next biggest. But if you look at volume by sales events, Memorial Day far and away blows away all the other activities of a year. So there was no way in hell, and at the time I was the GSM of Riverside Chrysler Jeep, there was no way in hell I was getting that weekend off. No. So we had a choice, either go into June or move it forward. And so we kind of agreed on the weekend before. And at the time I was just so focused on everything else, I didn't realize that Saturday that year was May 18th. And it wasn't until everything was already in motion, I was like, oh, I'll just keep that little tidbit to myself. And the reason I'm saying that, if you don't already know, May 18th is.
And chances are they don't know, because I think we are the only two people that know.
Listen to this that are in the know.
I mean, we're probably not the only, but there's a small group of us. There's
share with everyone why this date is important and other aspects aside from just my anniversary.
It is the anniversary of Ian Curtis, who was the lead singer of Joy Division, of his death. He died.
Unfortunately,
he died on May 18th, 1980, and he died by suicide. And he died. He had epilepsy and he had depression, and he was in a very bad state for a lot of reasons. He lived in an area in England that was very had been hit really hard with economic times during that time. And then he was married, and his marriage was falling apart, and he was having, I guess you could call an affair. I mean, her name was Aniek, and she was from Belgium, and she is she always said that that wasn't the case. And so, but she passed away in 2014. So, anyway, but that was he committed suicide, unfortunately, on that day, which was the day before they were set to come to America for their first national tour. And I knew all of this because of Rodney on the Rock, Rodney Bingenheimer on K-Rock back then.
Right.
And it sent shockwaves, honestly, and then that eventually turned into the band New Order, but a very sad day. And I've been thinking about it since last night. Something came in my Twitter feed actually about it, and I sent it to you last night. And then I realized that there's an awesome movie called, I might have mentioned it before, but it's called Control, and it's about Joy Division, how they got together, and it's very real. And the guy that plays Ian is amazing, and it's
he doesn't play Ian; he becomes
him. Yes, and
I mean, he transforms. All of them do a great job. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they all do.
Even the actor that plays Bernard, he kind of plays him as a douche, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yes, it's directed by Anton Corbijn, who's very well known in rock and roll, and he did it the right way, and it's very well shot. The cinematography is awesome, and just all of it's very good. The way that he handled the suicide is just all really good. So if you're interested in Joy Division at all, then because they listen to their music, Unknown Pleasures, of course, that album, but all their music really, and watch that movie because it's really good.
Joy Division is one of those just impactful bands, and we're always talking about bands that made an impact and made a lasting impression and changed something fundamentally in music. Did they sell the most records? No. Could they have? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe they would have came to America and not grown. Maybe America wouldn't have embraced them. I'm not going to even speculate, but they did impact so many other acts of that time. You know, everyone, when they think punk, well, Sex Pistols, and that to a certain extent is true. In fact, Joy Division, you know, decided to make a go of it after seeing the Pistols on stage, and I think it's because they realized that their group had something magical. They actually had talent. The thing about the Pistols, when they first came out, there was no real talent involved in the Sex Pistols. It was a bunch of noise and anger and angst and obscenities, and they pissed off a lot of people, which was what Malcolm McLaren wanted. He promoted that unrest, that rebellion against everything, not only in the music industry but against society, politics, everything. That was their shtick. They didn't have to be real talented. Their music wasn't real listenable. Their message wasn't really anything other than F you really loud in your face. Whereas Joy Division said, if these guys are getting billing and acts and people are paying to go see them, surely they'd probably want to listen to what we're having to say and what we're putting together musically. And they were right. I mean, the music, while it was punk, there was something more to it. You listen to Disorder, Walked in Line, The Kill. They're hard driving, like in your face, intense songs with like incredible lyrics, but they're very listenable. Like the Sex Pistols, I cannot get halfway through an album before
I'm going to argue with you about the Sex
out the window,
because that's not the case for me. Everybody thought, okay, if they can do it, we can do it, right? If the Sex Pistols can do it, we can do it. However, there is very much high art in what they did. They just, sorry, that's going to be my stance.
And it was missed on me.
Yeah, I think just like you missed Elvis Costello. I mean, I'm not going to hold it against you.
I'm getting into Elvis Costello now, though. I can't get into this Pistols. I see it more as a marketing effort, as a branding effort.
No, dude, it was. I mean, it's not really. It wasn't. Honestly. I mean, it might.
It was a political statement.
Tried to market them, but you know, they burned out, of course, too quickly. But no, the things changed with them. They changed things, and that to me,
yes, they did. Completely. I agree.
Yeah. Yep.
I just don't feel it was because of their music.
Well, you can have your opinion.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So anyway, back to that. It's May 18th, and that's so the world is much less interesting without Ian Curtis. I wonder what he'd be
similar to Joy Division and their reincarnation into New Order, I fully am a fan of PIL, which was the incarnation after the demise of the Pistols. Johnny continued on and formed Public Image Limited. I really like a lot of their early stuff.
Yeah,
I think
I
they
think what, if I
matured.
can be an outside observer, is you like more melodic music, and in and more traditional music, the way that it's written, right? Because PIL definitely did have more traditional melodic music, whereas Sex Pistols were just, yeah, it was just angst. And but I can see why, yes, I can see why you would say that. Yeah.
But the Dead Kennedys weren't as melodic. They were angst filled and
Yeah.
anger driven. But
Yeah.
I'm a lover of all their work. So
Yeah.
I think it was just the Pistols. You know, I just
Yeah. Probably.
resisted that. I think it's more like we were talking earlier, when a lot of people like something, I turn off on it.
Yeah.
I think that so many people were jamming the Pistols down my throat saying, "Oh, these guys are pioneers." I was like,
Yeah.
"F you, they're not."
That's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
bands that I think only I can like, or people that are cool like me can like, and the posers, when they start to like them, that's when I shut off.
Yeah. Yeah. Not me.
I'm an elitist. Fault.
That's right. Yeah. So, all right. That's all I got.
Have you watched any documentaries
Oh,
recently?
I just
Anything
watched
good?
an amazing one. Holy shit. It's the Michael J. Fox documentary on Apple.
Oh,
Oh,
I saw that. Is it good? It's
it's
on my list. I want to watch it.
what an amazing person he is. And I had no idea, he was diagnosed very young, like 29. And it was when at the height of his career, and he was experiencing symptoms during filming. And he was taking, there's a drug you take for Parkinson's, especially in the early stages, where it can calm there's a part in your brain that makes you do these involuntary like movements with your hands or whatever it may be. And with him, it was a hand. And he had these little tricks that he would do, that he would carry something in his left hand so no one would see. And no one ever knew. No one ever knew. No one ever caught on. And he just kept taking that
No one on the
medication.
set, no one that you worked with,
No
no
one
one
ever
just
knew ever.
at
No,
all.
no.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. He existed like that for 6 years and then came out with the news. But it's an amazing. I just, it's so put together so well. And he's in it, he's talking in parts of it, he's doing a testimonial in the camera kind of thing, and telling about how he, made it through, like, Back to the Future and Teen Wolf and just all of these, and then
Some of
Family
the biggest
Guy.
movies of all time in that
Yes,
time. I
the
mean, there
biggest
was a
movie of all
period
time.
when he was the biggest box office draw, I think, on the planet.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. So
What
watch
was
that.
the comedy show? I could not remember when I saw the commercial for that. It made me think of the show that he had on TV. The last thing I really remember him doing, I couldn't remember the name of the show
Was it
where he
Family
played.
Ties or
No, no, no.
Spin City?
He,
Or
was it?
he was on Spin City. That was where he was kind of the
He was
uh
like the mayor's assistant or something like that.
yes, uh-huh.
Spin City was the name. I
Mhm.
never would have guessed that. But
Yeah.
I loved him on that show.
Yeah. He was in that show, The American President, the movie with Michael Douglas and Annette Bening. I love that movie.
That's a good movie. Yeah.
He was like chief of staff or something, not chief of staff, but something. Um, but yeah, through all of it, they show clips of it, and where they show like his hand, and like if you really were looking, you could probably tell, but
But you had no reason to look for that at that
right.
time.
And he had to keep it, of course, you had to keep it under wraps, because he wouldn't have worked after that if he
Right.
would have come clean in the beginning. And yeah, I don't want to tell you all of it, but yeah, it's well worth your time.
I'll move it up on the list for sure.
Yeah, there's a new Donna Summer documentary coming out in a couple days as well, and I'm looking forward to that. And then there's a third one, but I don't remember
I actually love Donna Summer.
Oh, what a life she had. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Talk about someone that left a lasting impact. I mean, whether you are
Right.
old enough to remember or lived through the disco era, love it or hate it, you got to acknowledge it. It was a massive movement in a time that we really needed it, because in the 70s, you know, things had kind of peaked with all the hard rock and the acid rock of the 60s, and then it kind of went into all kinds of weird areas in the
Yeah.
70s. A lot of yacht rocky kind of stuff happening, and disco really reignited a lot of things for people. And I've always been a huge fan, and no one ever did it better than Donna Summer.
Yeah. I remembered what there's actually a fourth one too, but the third one is Mary Tyler Moore. There's a documentary on her coming. And today in theaters is Mel Brooks did a documentary on Gene Wilder.
Really?
I'm excited
Oh,
for that.
wow.
They'll
A
start
lot of good stuff to get out there and watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I love documentaries, but the ones I really like, just like when I read a book, I like to read someone's story, like they're, either a biography or autobiography. And yeah, you learn about yourself as you watch their lives. Right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. As always, you're our go-to for documentaries and podcasts for sure.
I fit it in between this week's very dramatic and season finale of Vanderpump Rules. For anyone that's been following Vanderpump Rules, yeah, and the Scandival, it's gone viral, honestly, and I think no one is more happier than Bravo about it all. But
yeah,
lives were ruined, but it is quite dramatic. And
will there be a reunion show?
Oh yes, there's 3-part reunion. Next 3 weeks. Next 3 weeks, there's reunions. Yes.
What's his name?
Andy Cohen.
Andy Cohen. He's the one that's really breaking it in from all these dramas.
Well, he's the genius that started the Housewives, honestly, and he gets it. And all of that came, I don't know if you know this, but all of that came from a sincere, deep-rooted love for soap operas. He just loved Dynasty. He loved soap operas, and his idea of like modern day soap operas are the Housewives. And so, and Vanderpump Rules is an offshoot of one of the Beverly Hills Housewives. So, but yeah, Ariana was on Watch What Happens Live last night, and she did awesome. She's the one that was cheated on, and she looked awesome.
He does a great job of bringing out all this stuff. I mean, and I mean, I respect the hell out of that guy for a long time. I don't watch it as much anymore because it's just, there's too much to try to get. But I mean, from back in the day of the Orange County Wives, when they were still at Coda de Casa, which is a gated community. I mean, I can remember that intro where they talk about, 200 million people live in gated communities. And that one was, it was interesting. It was a train wreck. You couldn't help but watch. You couldn't turn away. But his ability to take it, and that's what I was talking about in the car business, right? He saw it was more than just a show.
Yeah.
He's gone on to the reunions. There's a whole social media effort that he's pushed. All of those characters have their own social media channels. And I mean, part of their requirements to be on the show, it becomes a job, right? You have to engage with your fans on social media. You have to be on Twitter. You have to maintain all these things. And he doesn't see anything in a box. He sees all the possibilities.
Yeah.
Watch What Happens Live, as it came out of that, and all these things that you just think, okay, we're going to put a show on and it's going to be on.
Things come out of them being able to do, because it's not pleasant. They sign contracts and it's not pleasant. Their lives become much different than they were. However, the trade-off is a lot of them have very successful businesses off of it. So, and that's the whole point, I think, for them, is they get on there and but what's interesting though, is that you'll see, because everybody wants to do that, right? Not everybody in general, but the people that go on there. So you'll see kind of the peripheral people, and they just want to get on so that they can become, they call it friend of a housewife, the friend of. And then like the classic case of that is the Atlanta Housewives. So there's a gal named Marlo, and she was a friend of forever and ever. She finally became a cast member this year. So and they all have businesses, and I mean, you'd have to make up for it somehow, because really, there's a lot of grief that you go through. So,
well, there's a lot of lessons in marketing. If you could take away the drama and take away the emotion and all that, and just look at all the components of it and how successful it's been, some of that could be adapted to your own marketing strategies at a dealership, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
that goes back to, you and I have talked, you promoted trusting your employees to be good representatives of themselves and your dealership online, and supporting that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what a crazy concept.
I would love to like create a training program where they you would create a program for the dealership personnel. It could be for everyone, but certainly the customer facing ones, and teach them and show the boss too that you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to worry about somebody doing something wrong. There's a social media policy in place, and there are, reinforced guidelines and all of that. And then
Set up those guardrails and then just let them operate within them.
Give them some insight and some tips on how to kind of think about things and what to look for, and that, and then be there, on a regular basis, like once a month, or whatever it would be. And I'd love to do that, if but
That just circles all the way back to what we're dealing with in the car business.
It's just,
Some of the
but I'd love
Cro-Mags
to,
are in those decision-making processes, right?
once again, it
Chairs
all
are
boils
filled
down,
with dinosaurs.
it all boils down to if it was feasible financially, I would have a dealership or two. Once I got one, I could get more.
I would work there.
Fortunately, I don't have, that type of money. And so that's the case. So
Once you win the lotto, buy the store, we'll set it all up, leave me in charge of that one, and go on and buy another one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my friend Mary can come help us too, because
there you go.
We could be the juggernaut, and it would be great. And we would prove
between the two of us, we could staff a store, and it would be the most freaking
yeah.
awesome store.
I could name 10 people right now that would come.
Yep.
More than that, 20 probably.
Yep. Yeah. Me too.
In all departments.
It'd be awesome.
Sales.
Oh yeah. I got techs, service advisors, parts guys. I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yep.
All right, we'll hold on to that dream. And for now, we got to end our time together, but it's not over. We will be getting together next week. And hopefully between now and then, we'll have heard from somebody in the car business that's out there working away, whether you're turning a wrench, selling a part, preparing the financial statement up in the front office, or out on the front lines selling cars. If you're in the automotive industry, we want to hear from you. We want to get some feedback. We want to maybe even have you on the show. We've got a couple of interesting guests lined up coming up, but there's always room for someone that's got another voice. We want to hear from you, right?
Yeah, we do. Definitely. So
thank you for tuning in.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, and be careful out there, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.